Welcome to That's So Savvy, the podcast where we dive deep into the stories and journeys of remarkable business leaders. Join our host, Nancy Eichholz, a seasoned professional and experienced entrepreneur, on her mission to discover the recipe for business success.
Welcome back to episode 9 of That's So Savvy. And I have a very savvy young woman here with me today. I've been so looking forward to meeting her, so I'm excited to share her with all of you. For all of you out there who are familiar with this phenomena, I guess you call it, I'm going to tell you to get out of the kitchen for the next 35 minutes or so, because I'm going to be talking to an expert in pickleball paraphernalia. My new friend, Catherine Baxter, is here today. She is the founder and owner of Nettie Pickleball. She has been doing some really exciting things here founded here. She'll tell you her story, but she's here in Cincinnati, but her products are available nationwide. So I think you're going to want to check this out once we get finished speaking today. Let's hear about Catherine Baxter.
Hi, Nancy. Thank you for inviting me to be here. I'm Catherine, born and raised in Cincinnati. I grew up in the town of Wyoming. I'm a fourth generation resident, and then did what many of us do and venture out of Cincinnati for a little bit. And I spent time in Michigan, in Chicago, in the San Francisco Bay Area, and in Brooklyn, and made my way back to Cincinnati.
And we won't hold that Wolverine part against you. You're speaking to a dyed-in-the-wool Buckeye.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. I'll save my Go Blues for later.
There you go.
And for a lot of my, for the beginning part of career, I worked in organizations that were focused around women's leadership and initiatives to get more women and underrepresented voices into public thought leadership and starting businesses and running for office. And did that for many years. When I was living in New York and thinking with my now husband, where do we want to live down the line? We decided to come back to my hometown here in Cincinnati. It was kind of right at the same time that I was thinking about starting Nettie. I was really excited to move to a city that had a thriving entrepreneurial community, a community that was tight-knit, and I felt like I'd actually be able to meet people that could help me take my ideas to the next level, and a place that was just affordable and had a great community and experienced the city in a different way than from when I grew up in Wyoming. And so now live in Columbia, Tuscaloosa.
And I love that. I think you mentioned to me that your now husband, before you knew him, had done a little stint with Procter & Gamble.
Yes, he did a summer internship with Procter & Gamble. He's from Manhattan, a city kid, and he did a summer with Procter & Gamble, which is sort of how he met, but he loved Cincinnati and ended up doing his own entrepreneurial venture, didn't work at P&G full time, but he was really, really interested in the city and the opportunities that happen here, even if he wasn't working at P&G, and he loved it. So, and he's now, I call him the de facto tourism board, because he waves the Cincinnati flag wherever we go.
I love it. That's great. Yeah. Well, and one thing you mentioned then in there too was came back to a really rich entrepreneurship community, which I love about Cincinnati. You wouldn't guess that if you didn't know. Mm-hmm. We're doing some really amazing things here, but also that you knew that there would be a network that you could tap into. But I'm also assuming that you also knew that you could take advantage of that network you've had your whole life.
Totally.
And I'm just a big, big believer in networking. Every level of your life, at every aspect of your life, to be a network, engage in a network, use your network, let people use you. And look at how it's turned out for you.
Yeah.
It's been great.
And lived in a lot of big cities and saw all the amazing things that happen in those places. But I also felt, as I was thinking about starting my own venture in one of those bigger cities, that it's harder to break through. Right. And when I was considering moving back to Cincinnati, I thought about how I could kind of more easily make connections with people. And people here love to help you. They love to, let me introduce you to this person. Oh, I went to high school with this person. They'd be perfect for you to meet. Or, oh, I play in a softball league with this person. Why don't you meet them? And it just has that energy of people really wanting to support. I was excited to be able to tap into that.
Yeah, I think that's great. One way I always describe Cincinnati to people who maybe don't know as much as we do or haven't been here, it's the perfect confluence. We have East Coast culture, we have Midwest values, and we have Southern hospitality. Yeah. And we have relatively decent weather because of the River Valley and all the culture and the history. And I just think there's so much here for people to enjoy. So not necessarily this is a plug for Cincinnati, but it kind of feeds into how businesses can be super successful here.
Yeah.
And the network is really tight and very supportive, which is just terrific. And it's supportive of businesses in all industries because you are not a tech giant, but you are a giant in the world of athleticism and hobbies and whatever you want to make pickleball be. So let's talk a little bit about, I love the story about actually how you got the idea.
Yeah. It was 2020. It was kind of the height of COVID and people being locked in their apartments. And my now in-laws had started playing pickleball in 2019 on the Jersey Shore. So in 2020, they, like many people, were just trying to figure out fun things to do. And they made a miniature pickleball court in their Manhattan apartment. It was mini, and they had to move the couch and move the art off the walls. And it wasn't their apartment is normal sized, and they didn't have a full court. But we're Zooming with them from not too far away in the city and thought, okay, that's funny. That is clever. And I really just filed it away as people are loving pickleball. This is this thing that I had maybe heard of before, but you hear something a couple times and you're like, okay, what's this? What is this? What's happening? Like I said, my husband is an entrepreneur. I had seen him starting to launch his business as well. And so naturally, we're just talking about business ideas and opportunities and things that are happening in the world. And I just kind of filed pickleball away as okay, this is something that's having a real moment. Once we could safely play pickleball with his parents, we did. And I quickly understood why it was having the moment that it was having in 2020. The accessibility, the way for us to play with his parents, 30 years difference.
Correct,
and still enjoy the game together. Mm-hmm. The fact that people could play socially and or competitively right next to each other. Smaller courts mean there's more chatting, there's more just socializing, and that you could play in a cul-de-sac or a public park, wherever. And I was immediately attracted to all of those elements. And as someone who loves sports and always loved to be on the sports team, but was more often to win best attitude or best smile on a team rather than most valuable player.
I love what you called yourself, chief bench warmer.
Or chief bench warmer.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing wrong with it at all. But I actually felt like I could play and enjoy this game alongside other people who are much more competitive and much more skillful maybe than I was. And also because of the way the game was played, I also felt I could improve.
Successful.
Yeah, I could feel successful. I felt like, oh yeah, okay, I'm kind of making some progress here. So those things combined, we were thinking about moving back to Cincinnati, and I saw a gap in the market, and I thought, why not try this? Why not try something out? What I had seen was products were either really expensive, really geared towards the intense athlete version, and were very expensive, and I didn't think looked very good. And then on the other end, they all kind of had animated pickles on them, where it just didn't look good. They were cheap and they didn't look good. And I thought, if the sport is growing as I believe it is, there is a lane here for products that are high quality, joyful, vibrant, fun, well-designed, also weren't going to break the bank. They weren't going to
Right.
If you wanted something quality and great, but you didn't necessarily need a $250 or $300 pickleball paddle, that was sort of the lane. Also, as the sport was growing, I was seeing that it was entering into new contexts. So resorts were opening pickleball courts. Country clubs were opening pickleball courts.
Right.
It was happening all over. That also meant that there was an opening for products that had a appeal, aesthetic appeal, a quality appeal
right.
for a wider range. And so that's kind of where I started.
I love that it is a social sport.
Yeah.
And so how fun to have a quality branded product so that you feel kind of cool with your Nettie pickleball stuff. And yet it, like you said, it's not breaking the bank, but it is good quality. So you have that walk onto the court with your cute Nettie bag and your Nettie paddles. And it's all kind of about the look and the brand. And it's fun. It is something that people are enjoying. So I think you really did a great job of capitalizing on that.
Yeah.
I mean, even the name.
Thank you. When I first was creating the brand, I wanted it to feel like vintage Ralph Lauren Americana plus Wonder Bread plus Bjorn Bjork. Like if those three entities had a child that played pickleball, like that was Nettie. And Nettie she became a kind of fixture in my mind of a woman in the mid-1960s when pickleball was founded who wore fun sunglasses, who was kind of quirky, who always had a cool outfit on and would surprisingly beat you on the, when you're playing.
Yeah.
And that was sort of who Nettie in my mind became.
We have to have a persona.
Yeah, it's a big piece of it. But if you've seen in a lot of athleisure brands that have been really successful, these products kind of are a representation of who people are.
Right.
Like you want there to be a baseline of, this is a really good quality product. These are really good, nice accessories or things that I can carry with me for a long time are going to be durable and have features and benefits.
I'll have this more than one season.
Right. I'm not going to buy this and it's going to just break and I'm going to have to buy another one. But also if you see a brand like Lululemon that really started as yoga apparel has become into something that is a lot more than that. And I was really thinking about how recreation and athleisure are evolving to kind of fit into people's lives in a lot more ways. And that was
our workout clothes all day now.
Right. Like that was something that was kind of front and center as I was building, okay, what kind of brand do I want to create? Who's it for? Or who's the core audience?
Yeah.
And so that was,
the exact way to go about it.
Yeah. Top of mind. Yeah.
So how did you go from the idea in your head to actually having paddles in people's hands? What process did you need to go through to get that all going? Some of the hiccups and things along the way.
One thing that's interesting is I had never done this before. This is my first startup, first product, but I had seen my husband launch his startup. And I also realized that sometimes you need to strike while the iron's hot, especially if you're in a category that is having some trending moment. So I knew I was going to have to move fast. I started working on it in February of 2021 and I launched by August of 2021. So
it was amazing.
It was really rapid fire.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, it was just very, very scrappy. So I knew that design was going to be a differentiator. So I found a team of designers to work with. They're identical twin sisters and they're very cool. And I kind of did the creative direction and visioning and worked with them. Simultaneously, I went on Google and found a bunch of different manufacturers and got samples in. And then we tested them out and we tweaked, okay, we like this material on this, we like this material on that. And we figured out what kind of specs we wanted to work with. Then got samples in. Simultaneously, I did all of the website just on Shopify on my own and just designed it all and used the kind of off-the-shelf tools that exist. And then did a pilot launch in August of 2021. Everything was packed up and we were moving right as this was launching. Right. So we moved to Cincinnati the same week that all my product was arriving. And I get a phone call from my mom who lives on Erie. Or actually I got a phone call from another woman who lives on Erie. And she said, "Is this Catherine? I've got all of these boxes on my porch."
Oh,
And the driver had dropped off all of my product of my mom's neighbor across the street. So then I called my mom and she looks out her window just across Erie and she sees this woman standing on the porch with all of these boxes of pickleball paddles,
oh my God.
packaging, pickleballs, all this stuff.
Oh my gosh. How close to a disaster was that?
Right. My mom, and I was like flying home. It was like I wasn't there yet and it came early. Anyway, my mom was able to get a friend to help with the pickup truck.
Good thing they're not too heavy.
Yeah, and I was just across the street. So then once we moved into our apartment was filled with boxes and pickleball paddles and pickleballs. Really, that first season was not quite in the garage. It was in my living room in OTR and just shipping everything out. What I learned in that pilot was there was something here. I was seeing really great returns and results and traction and getting some press. And then people are starting to order. They don't know. I realized that this entrepreneurial project, it was something a lot more. And I wanted to take it to the next level. And
isn't that such a fun moment?
Yeah.
When the idea becomes a real thing.
Fun and scary.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know how I'm going to do phase 2 of this if
this grows, how am I going to ship all these?
I can't fulfill everything myself anymore. But then it was that next phase really looked like, okay, how do I be creative and strategic on finding a third-party logistics firm to do the freight and shipping and just start to figure out, okay, I got from 0 to 0.5. So then what's next? We're getting from 0.5 to 2 maybe. And also, like you were just saying, Cincinnati is the consumer products capital, arguably of the whole world.
100%.
The amount of mentors and people here who are geniuses at brand and storytelling around your brand and the way that products move in the marketplace was really exciting too, because from creative partners to advisors to people who have done this before, I felt like there were so many people that I could connect with.
Right. And people are so generous with their time, their talents, their input. I mean, so much of this is given for free around here.
Yeah. And
it's
I
incredible.
think I learned a big part of that was also just putting myself out there. Maybe even though this was just starting off as a side project of kind of putting my foot in the ground or my flag in the sand, whatever you want to say, okay, no, this is a real business. This is a real thing. And I'm going and doing it and going to tell.
You're going to tell the world
tell the world about it and try to find as many connections of people as I could.
Right, exactly. And I sort of remember when you did that because you sort of like popped up out of nowhere and there you were and you were really on your way, which is really exciting. So next phase seemed like when you started getting into some big retail accounts. So wholesale from your side, but retail from the other side. So let's talk a little bit about some of those big wins.
Yeah. I think one is a story that I tie to this like entrepreneurial community, which is met someone, I was working out of Union Hall in OTR. I met someone there who had been in PR for a long time. And he said, why don't I want to introduce you to a reporter from the Business Courier. So I met her, Liz Engel. She's great.
I love her.
Yeah. She did a little profile on Nettie. And then someone else read that story. And then I got a call from the Cincinnati Enquirer and they said, okay, we want to do a different angle. We want to talk about Nettie and about you. So I did that. I got a phone call from someone who said, I just read this article in the Enquirer and I am a broker for sporting goods companies into major retailers. And I was just on the phone with Dick's Sporting Goods and they have a huge initiative in investing in and bringing in women founded and owned brands into the store. Their CEO's a woman. It was something they were really, really investing in. And he said, are you interested in connecting with them?
Nah.
Thought for just a quick second. But then in really just a month later, we had a PO and we were
amazing.
Rapidly figuring out, okay, now how do we make
Now, like how did you scale up that production so quickly?
Some of it was just trying to be creative and, okay, how do we take our existing packaging, shift it and make it shelf ready? It wasn't perfect, but
it got there.
It got there. There was things that we could do. Some of it was doing rush orders and ramping up our production. There's all sorts of learnings that come from that on, have you packaged everything the right way in your warehouse? And retailers have specific ways that they like to accept product, and figured all of that out. It was a big, big learning. But I like to tell that story mainly because the root of that was meeting with people at Union Hall and throughout the community that then led to me being able to talk about what I'm doing, why I think pickleball is so special in its intergenerational nature and its social nature and all of these other elements of the sport that felt like more of a social lens that I was kept talking about. That led us to Dick's Sporting Goods and then other retail opportunities. Sometimes that's how it happens.
Right. Oh, absolutely. There's no question that it all comes back to the network. At the end of the day, almost always does. So when you got into Dick's, was that regional, local, national?
When we started, we got into their what's referred to as their tier 1 pickleball stores. So those are the stores that are moving the most pickleball product around the country. So at first it was 80 stores, and now we're in about 160 stores.
That's amazing.
They have 800 stores, so there's
ways to go.
There's room to grow. When I was initially developing the brand, I was really thinking about families and how families play together.
Nice.
One of our best sellers is our set of 2 or 4. When you think about the shopper at Dick's Sporting Goods who's going in there for soccer cleats for their kids, but they also need to get the Stanley water bottle that is there, or you can't get certain brands at Target, so you can get them at Dick's Sporting Goods, and really thinking about that kind of mom or dad who's shopping for the whole family and wants to have quality, fun products that appeal to their kids, but also to themselves, and that our sets kind of fit into that in the shelf. And that was really exciting to be able to hopefully meet those people where they're already shopping for their other sporting goods needs.
Well, another fun part of your story that I love is who contacted you after this exposure through Dick's and what your next, well, it's already in play, exciting partnership.
I got an email from the category manager for Barbie and Mattel. This year is the 65th anniversary of the Barbie doll, and they also were really thinking about how do we partner with brands to both highlight this 65th anniversary moment, but also play on the movie from this past year that's been a phenomenon. And really I then had to pitch to them to win the license. But with that, it was really Barbie sort of represented an intergenerational play of a different nature, especially if you watch the movie and how that was portrayed there. Like that was a big through line of the movie, was how do mothers and daughters have these same experiences together and apart, and what kind of bonding can happen through just play and off of our phones and out in the world. And pickleball has some of those exact same themes. Right. And also we wanted to create a line that looked like sort of Palm Springs, 1960s era Barbie, a little bit different from our...
Right, dead center on your brand.
Yeah, like different from a color perspective from other things we had done, but same vibe. And so ended up getting that partnership and launched 5 different products just a few months ago.
Yeah, how long did that take from start to finish? Because that seemed like it came out pretty quick.
It was fast. So we started working on it with them in October and did all of the product development, all of the design testing, all the sampling, everything. the end of Q4 and the beginning of Q1 and then launched in Q2. So
That's amazing.
Can take a long time when you've got iconic brands that have stood the test of time, making sure that those things are protected and everyone's on board.
But they had some urgency too.
Yeah.
You know, this is a one-time activity for them.
Yeah. There's a moment here. They've been great partners. And one of the things that we launched in parallel with that license was we came out with 2 new bags for the first time, a sling bag and a duffel bag that have sort of dedicated pickleball features, but are not pickleball only. They're designed to be used for other sports, other games, traveling, wherever you might use them, diaper bag.
Yeah.
But they have pickleball. They have special pickleball pockets, so you can really use them with its kind of specific use case. And then we also released those same bags and other styles as well. And one of the things we're really thinking about as pickleball evolves, as people have a Nettie paddle that they've had and they don't need to replace because it's good quality. What other things do they need when they're going down to Sawyer Point or they're going to play at their local club, wherever they are in the country, and having accessories and products that kind of more holistically round out someone's pickleball playing experience. And so that's something we're working on continuing to develop and release more of, and is part of what's next and where we're going.
Right. I think the evolution has been so natural. Mm-hmm. And it's exciting to see what's going on. Do you see yourself branching into other sports necessarily?
We could. I think where my focus is still pickleball, but really thinking about sort of leisure and recreational sports as the next universe.
Right.
Nettie,
I think we will see more sports become hobby.
Yeah.
Instead of so much the competitive, have to be good at it. I was doing a little bit of quick research when we were talking earlier about in 2023, there were 13.6 million people in the U.S. That's just the U.S. Playing pickleball, which was a 65% increase from 2022.
Yeah.
You've already distributed into the market 25,000 plus paddles, not to mention all the other bags and balls and headbands and all the things. You're a 7-figure company already, and you're just at the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
This is exciting.
It is. And I think that there's a couple things that I see. I mean, one is pickleball hasn't quite yet hit the rest of the world.
No.
And
I don't think it's even peaked here. It's big.
I think, will it have the same hockey stick crazy? I don't know, but I would agree with you that it's not at the peak, because I think people are continuing to play and get really into it once they start. But then you think about the rest of the world where it hasn't totally caught on, and why it makes a lot of sense for other regions.
Maybe it'll be an Olympic sport someday, and then it'll really be selling a lot.
Yeah, someone asked me recently, what's your guess? When do you think that it's going to hit the Olympics? And I said 2032 would be my guess. I don't think it's going to be the next Olympics, but I think it could be. I think it could be it
has to be a high school sport.
The following one. Well, there's all these. The IOC has all these rules on certain amount of countries need to have.
Right. And I can't just be certain.
There are people that are working on it, but more power to them. That's great.
But in the U.S., what I also love about it is it's a sampling sport right now, or hobby, I should say. Almost anybody can sample it. And then X percentage of those people that sample this will stick with it for any particular amount of time. I mean, I cannot tell you how many of my friends, it's their active, constant pastime.
Yeah.
If I want to get together with somebody, I need to go hang out on our pickleball courts and catch them as they come off.
Yeah. And I think that's exactly right, which is the barrier to entry is really low. You think, okay, you then have a percentage of those people that try it, a large percentage will want to play again and will say, hey, actually, this is really fun. I'm going to get my own equipment. And then a percentage of those people are like, I'm going to join a club and play and play regularly. We've got 2 really amazing facilities here in Cincinnati that are dedicated pickleball facilities, Aces in Norwood and Pickle Lodge in Westchester. So shout out to those two businesses that are catering to the needs of people who want a place to play. And then, you kind of go up that ladder and there are people who are traveling around the country and going to tournaments every weekend, and
that part blows me away.
Getting expert in that way. But I still think the vast majority of people are playing socially in leagues with friends and as a way to stay active.
Which is really your market.
Yeah.
That's your market. Yeah. And the growth potential is just so huge there.
Yeah.
As you know, the premise of this podcast is That's So Savvy. What's your savvy secret?
Yeah.
And so if you look back over just these few years, a fast 4 years.
Yeah.
If you had one piece of savvy advice or one thing about yourself that you felt was the savvy secret that really has made Nettie what she is today, what is that?
I touched on this a little bit, but I think that one of my savvy secrets with Nettie has been to tell the story frequently about what I'm building and what I'm working on, and not hold it so close to the chest and be afraid someone's going to take my idea.
Right.
Because no one can.
Right. Nobody can catch up with you at this point.
No, it's more that like no one,
it's your brand. It's your brand.
No one can copy a brand that you really develop. So I think not being afraid to ask for help, talk about it, get advice and connections from people just by being really open is a big piece of kind of telling that story. The other piece that is related to that storytelling element is, I think, figuring out ways to connect whatever your business or your brand is to a bigger picture. When I started Nettie, I could just sell pickleball paddles and equipment, but I really thought about how do I actually try to sell community and sell intergenerational connection between parents and kids, which is how I started the business. Really was playing with my in-laws, and now in Cincinnati playing with my mom. That like for a story to resonate, it has to actually speak to something beyond
absolutely
the product itself, and really figuring out how do you draw those connections in different markets and with different audiences. I think that has helped Nettie both from the brand side, but also from coverage. And we can actually tell the story and appeal in a story in Inc. magazine about how entrepreneurs can figure out their supply chain, or Vogue on the way that brands are approaching athleisure and style, or in GQ about gifts for your son, who I think it was, or no, it wasn't GQ. We were in GQ, but it was another magazine. It was like 10 gifts for your kid in the band. And I was like, I love that. Like a band, the band kids, like, this is perfect. It's accessible. And so part of that is, right now, part of that is figuring out how to tell the broader story about your product and your idea. And I think that's one of my other savvy secrets.
Right. No, I love it. Those are both awesome. I also like to end with kind of a fun question. My question for you is, if you fell asleep tonight, well, hopefully you will fall asleep tonight, and you wake up tomorrow morning somewhere else, any place in the world, where would it be and why?
I would wake up on a sleeping porch in northern Michigan. If you're not familiar with a sleeping porch, it is a screened-in porch that has beds on it.
Sounds perfect.
And I would be feeling the breeze as I woke up, and birds chirping and kind of rustling sounds. I think like being in nature is something that matters a lot to me. And I went to a summer camp for many, many years in Traverse City. And a big part of that camp was like being really active and being outdoors and playing. There was no phones allowed. Smartphones didn't exist when I was going there, but we weren't allowed to have CD players or
no technology,
no even electricity in most of the cabins. That sort of foundational experience of play and connection was something that means a lot to me, and when I think about how lucky I feel to be able to run a pickleball company, I think about those experiences in Northern Michigan in a sleeping porch, and then going out and playing Foursquare, and then drinking some lemonade and going back out and playing tennis, and then drinking some more lemonade and going in the lake. Like that to me is some of the happiest memories. And I hope we can inspire some of that feeling when someone goes out and plays pickleball with their friends or family.
I love it. Well, I think that somewhere in Northern Michigan, they need to have a pickleball complex that's named after Catherine Baxter.
Maybe one day.
And Nettie. Someday.
Maybe one day, you got to speak it into existence.
Right.
My colleague used to say, has a saying, colleague that I used to work with in a former job. And it's, the story you tell becomes the world you live in. That could be about an important idea you have, but it also could be about your business. Like if you say it out loud, you make it more likely to become real.
Right.
And
so other people hear and they want to help.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe that Northern Michigan pickleball facility is down the line.
I'll come for the ribbon cutting. So Catherine Baxter from Nettie Pickleball, we can find you at playnettie.com.
Mm-hmm.
What is your Instagram?
Play Nettie. Facebook is Play Nettie. LinkedIn is Play Nettie.
Very smart.
Everything's Play Nettie. So
okay. Well,
that's where you can find us.
Play Nettie. And if you are in the pickleball world, you have got to check out these products. They're classy. They're fun. They resonate. They're for all ages, all genders, all everything, all levels of play. And it's just very fun to have a homegrown entrepreneur woman talking to us about her passion in her work. It's been really fun, Catherine. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Nancy.
Listeners, just another reminder, and this is a great podcast to start with, go to those reviews and please give us a 5-star review, because that is how people will find us. And we want everyone to hear Catherine's story, and we want everyone to hear the stories of all the other amazing people that we have been talking to this season. So do a review, give us 5 stars, and join us next episode. And if you would like to support the podcast, please go to Patreon, Patreon.com. You can support us $5, $1 million, anything in between. It will help us reach more people and interview more guests and have a lot more fun.